Hello, inspiring professionals. Welcome back to Evolve Quest, the place to be to create a career full of freedom, fulfillment, and fun. So in this video, I wanted to share with you an exercise that will, first of all, help you to really understand your own strengths, skills, and experience that you bring to a new company, or maybe to the company where you're working for right now. So kind of get clear on it for yourself first. And secondly, learn how to articulate it in order to maybe get that next job that you're looking for, or a promotion, or maybe even start your own business. Whatever your job search plans are, it will really help you to be able to still stay humble and yet be able to clearly express what it is that's super great about you. Yeah, but before I jump into this exercise, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. I often share videos here on how to evolve your career to its highest potential. So click subscribe and the bell notification, and we'll jump straight into it. So the reason I wanted to record this video is that I come across a lot of clients, and by the way, that's really resonated with me as well, who I find are quite humble. Right? So on an average day, they wouldn't go around telling people how wonderful they are and how, what sort of results they were achieving in their companies or before. So someone who's really humble and really sort of focuses on recognizing maybe their team members or the company. But the issue is that it is acting as an impediment for them, as an obstacle when they're interviewing or when they're going there and asking for a promotion. Because it is very hard to come across, to impress the person who's interviewing you if you're not owning those strengths, and secondly, if you're not articulating them clearly. And so the exercise, it's sort of like a shortcut from, if you would hate to be arrogant and talk about your strengths, this is just a way to get it kind of like laser clear and more like kind of get into the style of telling stories and just telling how it is instead of boasting about how great you are. So what I would love for you to do, and so yeah, so what I really suggest is that if you're in the process of looking for a job or hoping to get a promotion, is that before you do anything, to sit down and do this exercise. So you can first of all do this as we chat, just stop the video and go through the points that I mentioned here, or you can just make note of the pointers that I'm giving you, and do it as soon as you can, start after the exercise, this weekend, whenever that is. And yeah, anyway, let me get into it. Yeah, and so basically, this is something that's very useful to use, first of all, for writing your resume, writing your cover letter, the talking in interviews about your experience and your strengths, and for negotiating your package. So this is like the fundamental. So you're building the foundation here for presenting yourself in the best way, which is so important, especially right now, as we're facing very tough economic conditions. So if you manage to get yourself an interview, so be sure to do this exercise. So I'll get into it now. I like to call this exercise 20 strengths. It doesn't have to be 20, it can be more, it can be a little bit less. But it is basically about you sitting down and creating 3 columns on a piece of paper, 3 columns. In one column, you call it strengths. Second column, you call evidence of those strengths. And third column is results. Strengths, evidence, results. Strengths, evidence, results. So, and once you, so basically the place to start is to really sit down and make a list of 20 strengths that you have. So there can be a little bit of an issue here, right? So you may think, oh, I don't think I have 20 strengths, or you may think I have a lot more than 20 strengths. That, yeah, feel free to add more to it. But my recommendation is not to stop until you can fill in the first column with 20 strengths. And so actually, maybe I'll share with you this template that I give to my clients in a career coaching program, so that you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. There is. Strengths, evidence, results. So the reason I would love for you to do it in this way is a lot of the time people sort of go to interview or they write up a resume and they just throw the buzzwords out there, like I'm a great team player, or I have really great commercial acumen. And the thing is that the person who you're sitting in front of, they have no real reason to believe what you're saying, because everyone knows the process of interviewing is about you in a way, kind of packaging and selling your skills in that process, and maybe even boasting a little bit about the things that you're saying. So it doesn't give them, first of all, confidence in that what you're saying is 100% true. And secondly, it just kind of bores people if you're just throwing those buzzwords around without really painting the picture of how did you express those strengths and those strengths in the past. So this is why we are developing this, doing this exercise in those 3 stages. So you start with examples. So you can say, I'm a great team player. I am analytical. I am a problem solver. I am, so whatever. So you end up with the 20. And if you feel like you are struggling, so one great place to get help is to do it with someone. Do it with someone who knows you well. So if you're talking about your professional strengths, perhaps you want to meet with someone who knows your work a little bit more. So maybe your former colleague, maybe your current colleague, if there's someone that you can trust to do this exercise with. Maybe this is your partner, but someone who really can reflect the strengths back to you. So for example, when I was doing this, I came up with 15 and I was really struggling with the last 5. And when I asked my partner to help me out, we finished this exercise in no time. So definitely get some help. And I would recommend starting with your professional strengths, or skills, or experience. So putting this in this column here. And secondly, adding, you can even add things from your personal life, you know, like I'm a very caring friend, or I'm very good at organizing, I don't know, picnic parties for my friends. So it doesn't have to be all professional. I do recommend to start with professional strengths, because it might be more appropriate to focus on those in your interviews. You may be able to bring your personal ones there as well, if it's relevant for the job you're applying for, or if you're missing some transferable skills that, you know, say if you're getting into event management, but you don't have any direct experience of that. Nonetheless, you've been organizing parties with your friends every quarter for the past 5 years. It's a clear statement that this is something that you really enjoy, you thrive in, and you have some experience in. When you are applying for certain jobs or opportunities, you may want to think about prioritizing the skills that they're looking for at the top. You know, for example, if you're applying for sales job, maybe you can add a strength like relationship building. Maybe you can add it here, or public speaking, right? And so once you've done with 20, you do not want to stop here. So you want to start filling out the second column that I call evidence. And in the evidence, ideally, you want to come up with 3 stories or examples where you use these strengths to the advantage of your job, of your company, or maybe like for, you know, personally, that helped you to achieve something. So think about story 1, where you've been a great team player, story 2, story 3. So if you think that this skill will be very important for your potential employer, so try to come up with more stories here. Yeah. And so when I'm talking about a story, right, this is like some kind of like an example of when you use this skill. And again, it might be really hard for you to have the awareness of where you've used those skills. So again, I would recommend going back to that trusted colleague, or to a close friend, or to your partner, and going like, you know, I'm really struggling, but I'm sure I've shared these things with you before, like, you know, some of the successes that I've had. Could you help me like unpack those? Like, what do you remember that I've done? Like, what makes me a great team player, right? So, and then you fill this out with specific examples. So none of this, I am typically taking great care of my colleagues at work. No, you want to say that you have something specific that you've done. And when you have something specific that you've done, an example or a story, it's a lot more believable, and it gives the person like an evidence of, ah, yeah, he's not just, throwing the buzzwords around that, he knows we need that skill. He actually is giving us some proof that this person has that. So as I wrote here in this document, an example of the evidence for being a great team player. So I wrote here, taking care of my colleagues, taking care of my client's complaint while she was on holidays, right? So this is a specific evidence of where you use that skills. Maybe you are a project manager and you help your client to simplify the process of logging the client requests. Yeah, so you can say simplified the process. So yeah, you can basically put the example here, and then I'm already kind of moving on to the results. So this is very important, and this will kind of like be a great bank of experiences and examples that you can really tap on when writing your resume, when talking about these things in the interview. And it's useful to, first of all, you do this to remind yourself about the great things that you've done in the past, so that they can be in your kind of short-term memory, not like somewhere in the long term where, like, if you arrive to the interview, it's very hard to tap on that, right? So and secondly, it paints the picture for the person who you're talking to and creates this trust in what you're sharing with them, that you have that skill and experience. And so the third column, which is very important to add, is the results. The results, the successes, the achievements of what this strength helped you to create. And it's a lot easier to work with it if you filled out the second column of evidence. So when, for example, one of my clients, she has taken care of her colleagues' clients' complaint while she was on holidays, and that helped the company to avoid a potential loss of £3,000 in revenue, right? So this is a very specific way to show how what you do is different, and what sort of results that your skills, your strengths are helping companies to achieve. So the reason it's so important to do this work, when you're interviewing for any kind of job, the person, so the most of the time what I notice is people sitting across the table with the interviewer, and they're kind of going through the list of responsibilities that they have. And same in their resume. A lot of the time resumes I open is just a laundry list of responsibilities of someone who does project management. And I'm like, yeah, if I'm hiring for a project manager, I would have seen 100 resumes that look very similar. And by the way, I wrote the job description. I know what project manager does. I want to know what makes you special, what makes you stand out, how your approach to work really helps to create superior results, or just, helps to create great results for your company. Can you see the difference? I'm just talking about your responsibilities to giving evidence and telling them what kind of results it helped the company get. But I do notice a lot of people get stuck with this column of results, because first of all, not everyone is in some kind of like revenue generating position, like for example in sales. But I tell you that it doesn't have to be all about revenue generation, right? The successes, it's useful to put some kind of numbers on there to quantify your successes, your results that you're getting in some way. But it can be done, so it can be done through expressing how much revenue you brought to the company, how much revenue you might have saved, the cost that you've saved to the company, the cost saving, cost reduction. But it could also be process improvement. Like, if it took something, the company to do something 3 days and you've reduced it to 1 day, that is a huge success and it's very impressive. So put it in there. Maybe you have like a testimonial from a happy customer or what the customer said. So add it there. And again, if the customer gave you some kind of numbers that you can add there, it's very useful to quantify it if you can, but it doesn't have to be all about revenue generation, if you see what I mean. second issue that I notice people have with this column is, with, talking about their results, is the fact that they never know precise numbers. Who knows, like the customer complained, who knows if they would have pulled the income, pulled the money that they had invested with this company or not. We don't know for sure. And you also don't know sometimes the exact numbers of how much cost have you saved, because you just didn't have that visibility. And it's very understandable. Most people do not have precise numbers, and you're not even expected to. So far as you are not telling lies, you're like more or less in the ballpark what it is, what the number is. I say put it in there, put the rough numbers in there. So first of all, no one's ever in my experience went back and went like, hold on, let me just check this, let me call your previous manager and make sure you got the number right. Secondly, it's understandable that these numbers may not be precise and may be quite rough estimates. So far as you are in integrity with yourself that this is a rough estimate, put the number in there. Yeah. So how are you finding this tip so far? I'd love to hear in the comments. How do you think this will help to shift how you look for a new role and how you present yourself? And now I just wanted to say a couple of things of how can you use this table? Yeah, how can you use this information throughout your job search process? So first of all, when you're sitting down to write your resume, and maybe if you already have one, I would say just go back to do this table and then go back to your resume and introduce those results and the evidence from this table. Copy paste some of those bullet points and add it to your resume. So you talk about the, your responsibility, the evidence of that, and the result that it helped to achieve. So can you see what another thing that this table helps you to do is to really summarize your stories, right? So when you go to interview, you don't have to talk for ages about all the backstory. Kind of writing this down will help you to make it sharp and laser when you are going to talk about it. And then in the same way, you just add one sentence, the evidence and the results that it helped you to achieve. So yeah. So implement this into your resume, use these examples for your cover letters or when you're writing applications and you notice that this position really needs someone who is a quick problem solver. So you can say, I noticed that you're looking for this, for this personality trait, someone who is a problem solver. As an example, in my current company, I've managed to simplify the process. They used to company 7 days. I brought this down to 3. And the result of it was a cost saving of £100,000 of time that, the employers with very high salaries didn't have to spend logging this stuff to the database or whatever that is. Yeah, so you can add this to your cover letters. When you go to interviews, now I just put the word out there, like a buzzword out there, I'm a great problem solver. Give examples from this table. So for example, this is what I did in the past. This is the result that my company got from it. And also it's very helpful for when someone is asking you a behavioral interview question. So if you don't know what these are, it's like when the interview is asking you, tell me about a time when, or give me an example when you dealt with a difficult employee or when you disagreed with your boss. So if you have 20 examples here, right, if you have this table filled out, you will have so many of those examples at your fingertips, and they don't all have to match up exactly to this story relates to me being analytical. It may also relate to you being a great team player and a problem solver. So whatever behavioral interview questions come up, you can really rely on a lot of these stories to help really articulate what's really great about you. Right, so now over to you. In the comments below, just put down the date when you're going to sit down and do this exercise so that you have some sort of a commitment to get this done. I promise you this will make your job search process and your ability to really stand out across other candidates. It will just make your efficiency go through the roof. Most people don't do that. They talk about their responsibilities, lack of examples and stories, and very little results. So just this one thing will help you to present yourself a lot better on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, your cover letters, in interviews, and of course, when negotiating your salary, because when you're able to say how much money you have saved the company, or time you saved, or whatever it is that you managed to do, and you compare it to the salary increase that you want to have or the salary you're asking for, it's a lot easier for the company to see why they should be paying you a premium. Get it? Let me know how this is landing, and let me know when you're going to do this, and maybe why not drop down a couple of stories that you're going to use for this exercise already. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. If you are interested in one-on-one program helping you to get into your dream job, you can email me at Katrin@evolvequest.coach. I'm also soon launching a group online program. So if you're interested in that, you can email me there as well. I'll leave my email in the comment box below. And yeah, good luck with your search, and I'll see you in the next video.